Welcome back to the Piping Pastor. Today I'm smoking my new pipe. I just got this actually yesterday, so still breaking in. But this is the Peterson Sherlock Holmes series Lestrade, and you can see the little Sherlock Holmes logo there. I got a great deal on this from Smoking Pipes. I've often thought about getting one of these Sherlock Holmes series pipes because, as fans of the channel will know, that's why I first began smoking a pipe. That's why I first started thinking about it, is Basil Rathbone and the Sherlock Holmes series. And I've always had an affinity for that calabash, even though in the stories he rarely smoked calabash. It was prevalent in the film adaptations. And oddly enough, in the Sherlock Holmes series by Peterson, unless I'm much mistaken, there are no calabash pipes. However, these ones I think look great. As I said, I got a great deal on it. They had a bunch of them on sale. I just happened to be looking, just browsing around really, and saw they had like 8 of them in different finishes: smooth, rusticated, sandblasted, and they were all discounted. In point of fact, I think I may have initially discovered them when I was browsing through the estate pipes. I think this may have been listed as an estate pipe, and it was only 150. And I think when they first came out, they were over 200, and they were normally like 185 or something like that. And so I jumped on it. Yeah, you know what? I love this shape, this full bent apple, and it's got some nice thick walls. So I was like, I'll take that. And if it was an estate pipe, it was unsmoked when I got it. But I will say it had at least been sitting around for a while because the silver band was tarnished. So I did have to do a silver scrub on the band to get this looking back the way it's supposed to look. But then started breaking it in yesterday, and I'm continuing today. So I know there's a bunch of different theories on how to properly break in a pipe. Some people will say fill it halfway, smoke it down. Some people fill it all the way and smoke it down and continually smoke it, exclusively for several days to get it broke in. I have no real science to it. I just fill it up and smoke. And then you have people who make arguments about what tobaccos to break a pipe in with. A lot of people like Carter Hall. I've heard Cane Rod mention that. I know Smarty Bob, well, he smokes it a lot, generally speaking, but he always breaks in his pipes with Carter Hall. I'm smoking that Country Squire Secret Mister number 55, simply because I'd been drying it out and I wanted to smoke it. And I will say now that it's had some drying time, I've been able to do some drying time on it. The flavor profile I think is a lot more subtle. It's still, I'm not going to get any more, and if they ever name it, I probably won't order it because I think Green Dragon and King's Highway, for me, they're just better. The only thing I'm unsure about this with is the P-lip. I mean, it's a fully clinchable pipe. It's not overly heavy, despite the thickness. But it feels awkward to me when I clinch it. But again, I didn't buy this to be a clincher anyway. I bought this. The only pipes I typically clinch are my small little Admiral pipes for when I'm reading. Most of the time, I prefer to hold. So, and I was just saying how I dried this out and it was tasting better, and yet here I am with like 1,000 relights. So, in any case, I wanted to share a bit of a fun story that could have been not fun at all before we get into our poetry in the Bible section for today. I was on the back porch the other day enjoying a pipe, and next to the outdoor couch we have out there, my wife has some potted plants. And the plants that she's attempting to grow are further out on the patio. The ones back there by the corner of the couch are the ones that did not make it. El Paso is a difficult climate to grow in if you're not experienced with it. And it's arid, it's hot, and a lot of plants thrive, but sometimes it takes some adjusting in water levels, and sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's not enough. So not all of our plants have survived here over the last year. And she's experimented with a few different things. Gardening is not my thing, but she's had a good time with trying to figure out what grows, what doesn't grow, and how to get things to flourish. So that being said, dead plant in a potter in a pot next to me, and it was just looked to be just like dry dirt. So I finished my pipe and tapped it out in the dry dirt. Put the pipe away, went back inside. Later on that afternoon or that evening, I went out for an evening pipe. It's nice outside. Load my pipe up, sit down, and I'm like looking over at the pot, and I'm like, that looks like it's melted. And I step up and step around the outside, and not only was it melted, it was smoldering. It had been slowly smoldering for a couple of hours. Apparently, what I thought was just dry dirt on the top was dried mulch, which is very flammable. And the last bit of ash that was in my pipe, of course, still had some heat to it, which is all it really needed to start a smoldering action. And so it just slowly smoldered, turned that entire top layer of mulch into ash, and melted the plastic pot. So, as I said, happily it was far enough away from the house and everything else like that that nothing, terribly bad occurred, just ruined a pot. So I grabbed the hose, which is right next to it, and doused it down, and it steamed and went out and so forth. Made a huge mess. So cleaned all that up, went inside, said, hey, you want to hear a story that's may not be funny right now, but might be funny in a year or two? God love her. She found the humor in it right away. And as you know, my wife is not a fan of pipe smoking, so any excuse to denigrate the hobby, she would probably take. But in this instance, she just laughed with me. So anyway, just wanted to share that bit. And I was going to relight again, but you know what? I'm getting ready to talk anyway, and talking so much that it just would go out in any case. So, and reading glasses. I discovered, 6-8 months ago, that these were going to become more and more necessary. I had them for a while and used them occasionally when I'm reading small text at work and things like that. And it got to the point where the kids would hand me their phone to see something or something else. My wife would hand me something to read, and I would do one of those things. So my wife gently pointed out that, well, maybe it's time you just start carrying those around with you all the time. You are a gentleman of a certain age now, so that being said, now they're a bit more prevalent. And these little guys here, they come in this little case. You can carry them around in your pocket, and they just pop on, read them, and pop them back off. And the case is rather small and narrow, so just fits in the pocket. So they're easy to carry around and use in instances like today. So I was going through some of the poetry books today, just kind of browsing around, seeing what I wanted to read. And I came across this text, and this isn't an old one. And I'm see, when was it published? I want to say 1948. 1948. So, and this was a self-published book, I believe. Well, not self-published as in like today when you go to Amazon and self-publish it, but I think that this is something that this person just pushed forward for themselves, because I haven't seen a great deal of other things by this particular author. But before I get too deep into that, I think I'm going to do some proper research on this author and find out the actual history. I had not done that yet today. I just picked it up because I read a few when I bought it and I thought they were good, so I took it. But this poem today really struck a chord with me, so I want to share it with you. Osprey, tail whited, slow to move and fly, rusted black wing and lavender sweet claw, sprung from the tree top near me and loped high. The canvas vessel where I lay and rock tipped at the bayou reeds, their soft squeak green. Turtles were subtle at the ship's low keel. Bayou-born marshy, whose appeal is mute, we live in things clustered in your dangled deeps, content to hide in briars of your sleep. Live things love hiding, minnow, crow, and rose, burn better in your thickets than in clear, strong waters where a fisherman can peer. Where giant fish run bravely and gulls scream. Rather, the secret difficulties here than blatant atmosphere and pure blind air. So this poem is about, in a literal sense, the living things of the bayou that hide in the marshes, small minnows and so on and so forth, that hide away from the fishermen, that hide away from the predators, that stay in those murky areas. But what the poet here is trying to express is that we as human beings do this as well. We hide in safe places, even though it's uncomfortable. The areas of reeds and in those areas of the marshy bayous, they're difficult to live in. They're not very attractive in terms of the creatures that live in there. And but it's safer. It's safer than where the brave fish run in open waters, because that's where the fishermen can peer. That's where the osprey sits and hunts, right? And so we as humans do that too. And I got to thinking about hiding places and the difference between our self-constructed hiding places and the hiding places that we're supposed to go to, which are refuge. In Psalm 37:2, it says, "The Lord is my hiding place. God is my refuge." Because there are times when we do need refuge. We do need to step away. We do need to find a quiet place away from the brave fish and peering fishermen, right? But if we go to those places on our own, in our self-constructed places, hiding out in our houses or our apartments, or just recoiling from all kinds of social interaction, not trying to get that promotion at work, not putting yourself forth as a volunteer at an NGO or stepping up at church to serve. If we just stay back in our own little lives and our own tiny bubbles and just stay in a safe place that's self-constructed, then we miss out on all the things that life has to offer. So yeah, occasionally you need to find the marshes. Occasionally you do need that quiet refuge. But make sure that that refuge is in the Lord, because it's then that you can get lifted up on wings like eagles, run and not grow weary, walk and not faint. Because when we find our refuge in God, rather than our self-constructed refuge, God is not content just to let us sit there forever. God will nourish us, God will feed us, God will supply us with all we need to get back into the fast-moving streams where the brave fish are. Because ultimately, that's where we're meant to be. Well, that is it for this time. I'm going to relight my secret number 55 and my brand new pipe here and enjoy the rest of this afternoon. Hope you have a lovely week. Always, happy reading.